International Papi Franco Varga, and you're now listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast, the biggest podcast ever.
You're listening to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's time. Your host, Stu Palmer.
Well,
we are back, and we are back firstly to review Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. Yes, we know it's a bit late, but we are going to give it a bit of the rub because it was intriguing. It was very intriguing last Sunday night, if nothing else. And waiting in the wings is my former co-host and cousin of Big Fight Weekly. He returns to Stu's Wrestling Podcast. It's Mr. Chris Hulme, and we're going to review just the fight, man, and it was intriguing, if nothing else, wasn't it?
Yeah, I probably thought, obviously I know I went for Jake Paul, even though I wasn't wrong on the decision of the fight, just the fight.
No, you got that bit right. You got that bit right, to your credit.
I was very surprised of the chin on Jake Paul because he took some big shots from Tommy Fury. Most of it wasn't like a massive hook or all the overhand rights that Jake Paul was throwing at Tommy Fury, but the straight jabs, and there was more than two coming his way each time from Tommy Fury, especially in the early 4 rounds. His chin, I was really impressed by his chin, and to stay in a fight. Yes, okay, Tommy's not a massively beast of a professional boxer, but that's his first professional boxer he's fought, and he hung in there. So props have to be given to Jake Paul, Stuart.
I can't get over the fact that he got done for holding late on in the fight, but he was holding at the start, wasn't he, Jake? I noticed that early on, but also what I did pick up on, Tommy was, he had his back, he was against the ropes a little bit, wasn't he? And I know he was landing. He did allow Jake to have a go, didn't he, as well? I was quite impressed with that, and I was impressed with Jake Paul, Chris, although I wasn't impressed with Logan Paul's spiel at the end of the round, because Richie Woodall was obviously analysing. He was going mad about it, but that was just to try and get an advantage mentally again, wasn't it? It was to rile Tommy, but it didn't work. Didn't work.
Not to knock your profession of your sport for your podcast, but it was very wrestling-like, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In any other sport, if anyone was given a mic like that in any professional boxing bout or a UFC bout, they would have got clobbered. Shut the fuck up. Just watch your brother and shout from the stands. Don't give him a mic. If that's the case, give Tyson Fury the mic and let's see what he ripples off.
It was just one of them. I mean, I was saying about the fight itself. That was just the pantomime aspect of it, wasn't it? But that was just any way they could get advantage. But obviously the mind games were going on for the last 2.5 years. So he got his head around that, didn't he? But I think they're discrediting Tommy as well, as they are Jake Paul. He lasted the 8, and as you said, Tommy landed double the amount of power punches over the course of the 8 rounds. So as you said, he took some heavy shots, and I've got more of a respect for Jake Paul again, as much as I've been on his case for the last 18 months, 2 years.
I think we spoke about this last week, didn't we, on the preview show? And I said to you about, Jake Paul hasn't fought someone who's going to throw the jab at him. And you could see he couldn't get his head around that. And you could see that he was struggling because, the Furies, when you watch Fury to Tyson, obviously to Tommy, they double up with the jabs. It's not just one single one throw and they're throwing one, then a second one, then a third one. And, making the movement around the jab. And I think Jake Paul hasn't had that before in any of his bouts with any Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva, and the rest of them beforehand. So I think there was something new that he had to get his head around, and I think he was struggling to get past that jab. Yeah, okay. In the later rounds when Tommy tired, he was getting around it using the body. But the alarming thing to me in all of this was Tommy walking into the overhanded right over and over again, and it was like you could see it all day long. And it wasn't saying it was the last round he was walking into it. It was all the way through the 8 rounds. He seemed to just keep circling to that right hand, the power hand of Jake Paul. And it's like, most no fighters know that if you're fighting a guy who's very powerful with the right or the left, you circle the opposite way so he can't use that as leverage to catch you. And Tommy Fury kept on circling to it, and I'm like, go the other way, movement, or pivot to the other side of things, but he kept on walking into it. So we're very lucky that Jake Paul didn't land that flush.
What about the judges now? I'm gonna put some onus on that. Mm-hmm. The American judge. I'm not being funny. I think. Yeah, what would you have scored it? If we were going to say how many rounds up was Tommy in your mind?
I'd probably say that Fury won 5 out of the 2, but only I would say obviously the 10-8 with the point deduction, which again, as you alluded to before, that I think the referee decided to shoot it, that he wanted to be a part of the show, didn't he? Because the punch to the back of the head made no sense.
I'll bring that graphic back in. Got a bit but yeah, I think
the referee wanted to be involved, didn't he? The referee was terrible, but I would have given. Obviously, after Tommy losing that round for 10-8 for his point deduction, then I think you probably give Jake 2 rounds. I think Tommy had the 5, but I think the unanimous decision. I think if he didn't have to lose that point deduction by the ref, I think Tommy wins 7 out of the 8.
Yeah, I think like Carl Froch was along the same lines as you, but I would say I thought he was at least. I thought he'd lost two rounds of the 8. Taking into account the 2 10-8s in the fight, but Tommy hit him in the back of the head in one of the rounds.
Yeah, I was going to say that to you. There
was no consistency because he took the point. He did the deduction for him holding, but then Paul was holding early in the fight, and then he gets done for the one to the back of the head. But then Fury had done the same thing when they were coming close to the end of one of the rounds. I remember. So it's like there was no consistency there, was there?
He wanted to be part of the show. I think the ref wanted to be part of the show. And because, you wouldn't do that to Anthony Joshua. You wouldn't have done that to a Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Usyk. You wouldn't have done that in one of their fights to one of them. He just wanted to be part of the show. And, I think they're always falling into a clinch, them two, because the way they were fighting, because they were in such a tight pocket, weren't they? And I feel like, Tommy does always fall into a clinch anyway in most of his fights. It's what pretty much saves him from being caught half the time. It was a bit of a clinch fest, wasn't it, in all fairness? But yeah, the referee was shocking. And as you say, that judge, you give it 76-73 Paul. I don't know what he was watching Cartoon Network.
It was just he's been paid off, mate. He's been paid off.
I see it at 76-73 for Paul. Paul, if he didn't want to lose at one point, I don't know if he be free, but again, he did get caught. He got put down. Didn't do any damage, obviously, but all happens 10-8, isn't it, to the box?
It's just so weird, man. But do you know what? I'll tip my hat. I keep going back to it. They both did very well. They both did very well. And I think people are now saying about Tommy, he won't make British championship level. I think he will personally. I think that's a bit harsh, but they're pro boxers who are coming out with that. So they know more than us, don't they? They know what it takes to get to a level, and then maybe European continental level, he's going to struggle, I think. But I think British title, yeah, I think he's got enough about him to get a British title. But you could see with him after the fight, mentally, and he was upset. Obviously, I know he's been away from his little one. She's not been born that long, has she? So it all got to him. So it was a big mountain for him to climb, wasn't it? Mentally, as we said last week. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the rematch? Because there's a rematch in the clause, but surely it's not going to do the numbers. Now they've hugged and kissed and all that after the fight. It's not going to draw the numbers that this one has.
I think it can. I think it can, Stuart. I think because this is Jake Paul's wheelhouse you're talking about now, isn't it? The guy can sell snow to an Eskimo. The guy can, get people's eyes fixated on whatever he's doing. So I think it could make numbers, but I feel like that's something where if you're Tommy Fury, I'd be like, yeah, I'll have the rematch, but we do it in the UK this time. We do it over here.
And then the next thing, obviously, the deal that was made, Jake Paul, you win it all, or vice versa, you get the whole lot. John Fury, I've got a clip with John Fury because they still haven't had the full amount of money. John Fury is waiting for his son to get the money. They had the deal. They shook on it. It might not be on paper and signed as a contract, but here we go. Here's Mr. John Fury. Chris, I don't know if you've seen this. I think you may have.
Morning, world. Jake Paul and family. Back home, well rested. Heads back on business. Jake, you know what I'm going to do. We had a deal, mate. We had an handshake. We said we box for free if we got defeated. You say you'd pay double if Tommy could beat you. And that's what he done. Tommy beat you convincingly. So what I'm going to ask you to do is honour and step up to the plate and pay your bill. We had a gentleman's agreement in front of millions of people worldwide. We shook hands on national world television in the great country of Saudi. And please do not come out with all the contract bull. Mate, I can hardly read and write. I'm a gypsy. I'm uneducated, but listen, what I can do is all I've got in the world is my word. And I give it you in front of millions of people. We shook hands and I expect you to do the same thing, Jake. But I know you will because you're a stand-up guy. I look forward to hearing from you, Jake. Pay your bill, mate, and thanks very much. Bye-bye.
There we have it. The big man has spoken. What do you think with that, Chris?
Listen, I think, doesn't something like that have to go officially onto Tommy's contract? So Tommy signed a certain amount to fight Jake Paul. So this new deal would not have to go on his contract that he signed. So I can't see it happening. And I think it was all mind games from Jake Paul. It was all, and, they bit on it. And you could tell by Tommy in that press conference that he didn't want to do that anyway. But, if Jake's a man of his word, maybe he will. Or maybe he'll say, I'll give you more in the second fight. Maybe that's how it'll work out. I'll give you more because, Jake's got to get that one back, isn't he? So maybe he'll say, okay, $4 million for the rematch. Obviously, Tommy's going to
have you seen anything on buy rates yet? Have they still not collated all the information?
There's rumours that it's done well, and I imagine it's done well because I think half the world was watching, wasn't it, on Sunday night? I haven't seen anything official come out buy rate wise, but I imagine, Stuart, it's going to be quite hefty.
Because I've been listening to other shows. I've been listening to Talk Sport when they do their bit, their daily and that, and they had Spencer Oliver on, and they're saying the numbers it will generate, and just the casuals coming in, Chris, and the people that follow Jake Paul, as we alluded to last week, he was very much about that. It will, and I think it will. I think it will topple, what he did with Askren, which was 1.5, wasn't it? Which is only it's only America, that, isn't it? They're the numbers from America. So on a world level, you've got to wonder what it's actually done.
I think you're looking close to 1 million, if not more, because every person you scored through social media, going to that fight at 10 o'clock on Sunday night was mentioning Fury and Jake Paul. So I can imagine that, they're going to have quite a decent buy rate from that event. My question to you is, though, now obviously you said about the rematch, they've apparently Jake's got a clause in his, which makes sense because no one else is allowed to have a clause in the rematch against him because we can run off and say I've beaten you. But do you think maybe Jake Paul should look at another fight before Tommy Fury? Because realistically, if they're going to fight again, you're looking July, August, aren't you? Is that enough time to?
I think he'll just wait, and Tommy will wait just on the proviso and from a business aspect that how much money he can pull in from that. He'll never make that on the British circuit. Do you know what I mean? He'll be on an undercard. No disrespect to him, but that if he is, he's with Queensbury, he's with Frank Warren, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's the money maker again, isn't it? As I'm a bit skeptical on the numbers that it'll draw, but he's going to make millions again. So
but does Jake Paul need to fight someone before Fury again? What I'm trying to say is, can he get any better before the next fight? I can't see that happening. But does he need to fight someone, get that confidence up, learn a bit of tricks of the trade, and then fight Fury after?
I think I just think he'll go straight into that one. Then obviously he's got the big one. Then is KSI, isn't it?
End of the year for that one.
He's been on with Helwani, hasn't he, about it? KSI, but obviously more that'll be towards the end of this year, won't it? So
yeah, but I think
that'll be interesting to see how much that makes.
That'll make more. Because it's them two have had a war for a very long time, haven't they? So, and I think KSI is facing Joe Fournier next, which is no easy fight for him himself. So, but this is where it's going.
It will be interesting. Now we were a little bit late doing the review, but yeah, it was just to go over what had happened on Sunday. As I keep saying, I think everyone had a good week in Saudi over there. A lot of the guys that were over there, Mike Tyson at ringside.
Living his life.
Not Dillian White. I was thinking
Chisora.
Yeah, Chizzy was there, and then obviously I'm trying to think. It's gone. Bomb Squad.
Deontay Wilder was there. Yeah,
Wilder was there, and they hugged him in Fury. Fury just shouting "Bomb Squad" at him across the way. So yeah,
I thought he was shouting "Bum Squad" when he was walking.
But it's just as a spectacle.
There was a lot of YouTubers out there as well.
As a spectacle, and getting eyes on it, it's done very well. And yeah, like it's the rematch is on the cards as well. And where will that be? Because he can't get into America still, can he, Fury?
No, not from what I've read, he can't. No, but I think you bring it. I think you bring it here, don't you? Because he, you know what I mean. Jake Paul thrives. Can he thrive off a UK crowd that absolutely hates him? Because you know what I mean. And no disrespect to the Saudis, and I imagine they're such, they are nice people, but the crowd is quiet, isn't it? It's not like being in the UK, is it, or America, when it comes to really loyalists to a certain boxer or a fighter. You don't feel it, but when you watch a fight over here or say in America, you feel it, don't you? You feel the crowd. I didn't feel the crowd when I was watching that fight.
It was a bit abject. It was a bit abject at times, which is to be expected, isn't it? And that's no disrespect to the Saudi.
I mean, yeah.
They live differently to us, don't they? The way they are. We're very excitable, but going forward, mate, it's as you say, a UK fight for the second one would be amazing.
I think so. And I think it could easily go back to Saudi again, Stuart, because the money's there, isn't it?
Absolutely. Cash is king, and you can't dispute anybody going over there to make the big bucks. Absolutely. So, Chris, this has been episode 144 of Stu's Wrestling Podcast, and it was the Tommy Fury and Jake Paul fight review. And we're going to be back very, very soon, because this weekend we've got UFC 285, and I know you want to get your chops around that, Chris, because it's Mr. John Jones taking on Cyril Gane up at heavyweight for the heavyweight gold. And I know you can have a lot to say about that this weekend. So thanks, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we're going to be back very, very soon. I'll preview John Jones versus Cyril. Thanks for coming on, Chris. Appreciate it.